And let's bring in CTV News aviation specialist Phyl Durdey to talk a little bit more about this. Phil, thanks as always for joining us.
Good morning, Roger.
Your reaction to that initial report from Air India on the Air India crash?
The Air India crash, it was very surprising, Roger. Going through the report and, looking at the pictures and doing some investigations, everything seemed to be normal. The flaps were down at 5 degrees for takeoff, which is normal. Landing gear selector handle was down. The throttles were forward. But the big mystery is, why were the fuel levers shut off? So there are two fuel control levers located right behind the throttles, and they have to be physically moved into position, whether it be to the fuel on or fuel off position. Now, there's only 3 times that the pilots would actually touch those switches. One is when the captain starts the engine. The second was when the captain shuts the engines down. And the other is when the pilot not flying goes through an emergency drill to shut down the engine. And before they move those switches to the off position, it has to be confirmed by the pilot flying.
And now, were they found in the on position, or was there too much damage?
They were found in the on position. So shortly after takeoff, the aircraft rotated out at 155 knots, started to climb at 162. It achieved a speed of 180 knots, which is totally normal. And then just after takeoff, both of the switches were selected to the off position. And that's where the conversation in the cockpit was, why did you turn off the fuel? The other pilot responded, I didn't. And then from there, both of the switches, so once the engines started to spool down, the ram air turbine automatically deployed to give them electrical power and hydraulics, and the APU started to do an auto start. Then both of the fuel shutoff levers were selected back to the on position. Now, the electronic control for the engines for the number 1 engine was able to restart the engine, and it started to spool up again. The number 2 engine, it wasn't able to re-energize the starter and stop the deceleration, but it finally did, and it started to accelerate again. But by that time, it was too late. And everybody knows when you're sitting on the ramp how long it takes to start those engines. So it needed some spool up time. It didn't get that, and it lost power.
Could it have been a mechanical or an electronics issue that shut those 2 switches down?
No, because it's a physical thing. The switches actually have to be picked up and brought to the off position, or picked up and brought to the on position. And there's a physical gate there that holds them in that, so that if somebody walks by and or is in the cockpit and drops something or hits those switches, they can't be put to the off position. They have to be physically moved.
Okay. Well, we'll have to wait for the final report in about a year. Phil, thanks as always for joining us.
Great. Thanks for having me, Roger.
Phyl Durdey is a CTV News aviation specialist.